また一つ空から星が消えた。あけなく吸い込まれた。また一つさらに病気が増えた。6時のニュースでそう言ってた。たりしないぜ。プラスチックの涙を砕くアイスピックを持っていつも今より似合う場所がどこかにあるような気がしてる。落書きは誰かに消されるさ。壁はただ黙っててもポケットは破れて空っぽさ。寒い朝にそう気づいた。好きだった映画は今になって流行りだした。懐かしくて嬉しくてきっと寂しくもなるはずさ。僕も時計も少し狂ってる。進んだり遅れたりいつも今より似合う場所がどこかにあるような気がしてる。プラスチックの涙を砕く
Good evening, everybody. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Let me adjust my pop filter. I know I'm usually offline by now, but head hurt, so I figured I would just go live late. Apologies for the crusty bitrate. There we go. The bitrate might actually be good tonight. For some reason, it's halfway decent right now. And that pisses me off a little, but I'll contain that. I'll bottle that up and I'll contain that for later. You know, anger is a lot like piss. Everyone has it. Everyone lets it out at inappropriate times. And you can bottle it up, then throw it at other people. Give me a second. I'm checking through YouTube which chapters I read last. So last time was 5 through 8 in its entirety. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut it short because there is a special segment for tonight I wanted to do. So let's now we have that information. Let's open up some chill, epic gamer music in the background. I have once again the copy we are using is the, let me get it on the proper monitor. The copy we have been using the entire time is the Project Gutenberg ebook. I cannot thank them enough. It lacks the very imaginative illustrations that a paperback or hardcover would have, but I don't mind. I don't mind because you know what? It is a free book that I can read for you all, and working through it slowly has been nice and it's been fun. It's good to have some chill, down-tempo content for you all, even if very few people have been following this little series, I guess you could call it. Let's get some Castlevania music going. How about that? Now watch this. As soon as I press play, I'm willing to bet the bitrate's going to crunch. And that's alright. I've reintroduced variable bitrate. However, to make clipping easier on myself, I will be streaming a bit more sparingly. Or at least doing content where it would not benefit from having an extremely high bitrate. Does this mean action days are getting shafted? Hell yeah. Does that bother me? No, because it gives me time to prepare special little videos to release on those days that I won't be able to stream. So let's go the one with the rain sounds. Bump that down a lot. Yeah, there we go. So, last time we ended off on chapter 8. Control F. That was Alt. That was Alt. I may be stupid. Control F. Alright. So last was the Field of Poppies, correct? I believe so. So we will be reading 3 chapters, and then I'll be doing a special segment. We're going to go pretty late tonight, if that's quite alright with you all. So, Chapter 9, The Queen of the Field Mice. We cannot be far from the road of yellow brick now, remarked the Scarecrow as he stood beside the girl. For we have come nearly as far as the river carried us away. The Tin Woodman was about to reply when he heard a low growl, and turning his head, which worked beautifully on hinges, he saw a strange beast come bounding over the grass toward them. It was indeed a giant yellow wild cat, and the woodman thought it must be chasing something, for its ears were lying close to its head, and its mouth was wide open, showing 2 rows of ugly teeth, while its red eyes glowed like 2 balls of fire. As it came nearer, the Tin Woodman saw that running before the beast was a little gray field mouse, and although he had no heart, he knew it was wrong for the wildcat to try and kill such a pretty, harmless creature. So the woodman raised his axe, and as the wildcat ran by the grave, as the wildcat ran by, he gave it a quick blow that cut the beast's head clean off from its body, and it rolled over at his feet in 2 pieces. The field mouse, now that it was freed from its enemy, stopped short, and coming slowly up to the woodman, it said in a squeaky little voice, "Oh, thank you ever so much for saving my life." "Don't speak of it, I beg of you," replied the woodman. "I have no heart, you know, so I am careful to help all those who may need a friend, even if it happens to be only a mouse." "Only a mouse?" cried the little animal indignantly. "Why, I'm a queen, the queen of all the field mice." "Oh, indeed," said the woodman, making a bow. "Therefore you have done a great deed, as well as a brave one, in saving my life," added the queen. At that moment, several mice were seen running up as fast as their little legs could carry them, and they saw their queen. They exclaimed, "Rats, rats, we are the rats." That's not what it says. I was just having a little goof, a little Germa 985 reference. "Oh, your majesty, we thought you would be killed. How did you manage to escape the great wildcat?" They all bowed so low the little queen that they almost stood upon their heads. This funny tin man," she answered, "killed the wildcat and saved my life. So hereafter you must all serve him and obey his slightest wish." "We will," cried all the mice in shrill chorus, and then they scampered in all directions, for Toto had wakened from his nap, and seeing all these mice around him, he gave a bark of delight and jumped right into the middle of the group. Toto had always loved to chase mice when he lived in Kansas, and he saw no harm in it. But the Tin Woodman caught the dog in his arms and held him tight, while he called to the mice, come back, Toto shall not hurt you." At this, the queen of the mice stuck her head out from underneath a clump of grass and asked in a timid voice, "Are you sure he will not bite us?" "I will not let him," said the woodman, "so do not be afraid." One by one, the mice came creeping back, and Toto did not bark again, although he tried to get out of the woodman's arms, and would have bitten him had he not known very well he was made of tin. Finally, one of the biggest mice spoke. "Is there anything we can do," it asked, "to repay you for saving the life of our queen?" "Nothing that I know of," answered the woodman, but the scarecrow, who had been trying to think, but could not because his head was stuffed with straw instead of brains, said quickly, "Oh, yes, you can save our friend, the cowardly lion, who is asleep in the poppy bed." "A lion!" cried the little queen. "Why, he would eat us all up." "Oh, no," declared the scarecrow. "This lion is a coward." "Really?" asked the mouse. "He says so himself," said the scarecrow in reply, "and he would never hurt anyone who is our friend. If you will help us to save him, I promise that he shall treat you with kindness." "Very well," said the queen. "We trust you, but what shall we do?" Are there many of these mice which call you queen and are willing to obey you? Oh, yes, there are thousands, she replied. Then send for all of them to come as soon as possible, and let each one bring a piece of string. Sorry, I'm just scratching my neck. Sorry if I'm getting distracted. You know, everyone has little moments like that, don't they? Getting distracted half's the fun of getting distracted is half the fun of being live sometimes, you know? Hang on, just checking something real quick. Yeah. Yeah. That's a song I should try covering more properly at some point. All right, so back to the matter at hand. Closing the phone off now. Putting it down. I think after this I might go to bed early or go play Diablo 3. The queen turned to the mice that attended her and told them to go at once and get all her people. As soon as they heard her orders, they ran away in every direction as fast as possible. Now, said the Scarecrow to the Tin Woodman, you must go to those trees by the riverside and make a truck that will carry the lion. So the Woodman went at once to the trees and began to work, and he soon made a truck out of the limbs of the trees, from which he chopped away all the leaves and branches. He fastened it together with wooden pegs and made the 4 wheels out of short pieces of big tree trunk. So fast and so well did he work that by the time the mice began to arrive, the truck was all ready for them. They came from all directions, and there were thousands of them, big mice and small mice and even medium-sized mice. And each one brought a piece of string in his mouth. It was about this time that Dorothy woke from her long sleep and opened her eyes. She was greatly astonished to find herself lying upon the grass with thousands of mice standing around and looking at her timidly. But the Scarecrow told her about everything, and turning to the dignified little mouse, she said, "Permit me to introduce to you Her Majesty the Queen." He said, Permit me to introduce to you Her Majesty the Queen." Dorothy nodded gravely, and the Queen made a curtsy, after which she became quite friendly with the little girl. The Scarecrow and the Woodman now began to fasten the mice to the truck, using the strings they had brought. One end of the string was tied around the neck of each mouse, and the other to the end of the truck. Of course, the truck was 1,000 times bigger than any of the mice who were there to draw it. But when all the mice had been harnessed, they were able to pull it quite easily. Even the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman could sit in it, and were drawn swiftly by the queer little horses to the place where the lion lay asleep. After a great deal of hard work, for the lion was heavy, they managed to get him back up into the truck. Then the Queen hurriedly gave her people the order to start, for she feared if the mice stayed among the poppies too long, they too would fall asleep. At first the little creatures, many though they were, could hardly stir the heavily loaded truck, but the Woodman and Scarecrow both pushed from behind, and they got along better. Soon they rolled the lion out of the poppy field to the green fields, where he could breathe the sweet, fresh air again, instead of the poisonous scent of the flowers. Dorothy came to meet them and thanked the little mice warmly for saving her companion from death. She had grown so fond of the big lion, was glad he had been rescued. Then the mice were unharnessed from the truck and scampered away through the grass to their homes. The queen of the mice was the last to leave. "If you ever need us again," she said, "come out into the field and call, and we shall hear you and come to your assistance. Goodbye." "Goodbye," they all answered, and away the queen ran, while Dorothy held Toto tightly, lest he should run after her and frighten her. After this, they sat down beside the lion until he should awaken, and the Scarecrow brought Dorothy some fruit from a tree nearby, which she ate for her dinner. Chapter 10. The Guardian of the Gate. Let me take a sip. Hang on, let me open up a tab real quick. It's okay for me to get distracted now because I just finished the chapter. It's not like we were in the middle of reading something and I'm getting all lost in the weeds or in the poppies, as it were, since, we're just dealing with that in the story. Let's see. You guys hear that they finally showed off more, like a real nice trailer for Gloomwood? That's a game I'm excited for, even if I might not be able to stream it until the hardware upgrades are all good and complete. Additionally, just the other night I finally got around to it and uploaded my cover of Ram Ranch, and people seem to be really liking it. Of course, this does officially make me the first VTuber to cover the full length and girth of Ram Ranch uncensored, and I'm quite pleased about that. Let's see. Yeah, let's check something else real quick. Don't worry about it. It's just checking pics of numbers. I uploaded a new piece today. Of course, upload a new piece today is something I can save for the several past few days, like since the beginning of the month, since I've been doing sort of a daily art challenge. People seem to be really liking what I've been putting out, and that, means a lot to me. Like, it's nice that I can enjoy what I'm putting out, but the fact that other people are joining in on the fun, also enjoying what I'm putting out, that means a lot to me. But now we're getting lost in the weeds again. We're getting off track. I need to get back to the story, or else people will start leaving and they'll say, this video's bullshit. They said he'd read 3 chapters and then he only read 1 and then he got lost in the weeds and then he didn't get back to it. So I gotta get back to chapter 10 of Wizard of Oz, The Guardian of the Gate. It was some time before the Cowardly Lion awakened, for he had lain among the poppies for a long while, breathing in their deadly fragrance. Just like sitting beside a Super Smash Bros. Melee competitive player. That wasn't in the story. I was just being a little bit of a penis warrior, a cock crusader, if you will. But when he did open his eyes and roll off the truck, he was very glad to find himself still alive. "I ran as fast as I could," he said, sitting down and yawning. "But the flowers were too strong for me. How did you get me out?" They told him of the field mice and how they had generously saved him from death. And the Cowardly Lion laughed and said, "I've always thought myself very big and terrible, yet such things as flowers came near to killing me. And such small animals as mice have saved my life. How strange it all is. But, comrades, what shall we do now?" We must journey on until we find the end of the yellow brick again," said Dorothy. "And then we can keep on to the Emerald City." So the lion, being fully refreshed and feeling quite himself again, they all started upon the journey, greatly enjoying the walk through the soft, fresh grass. And it was not long before they reached the road of yellow brick and turned again toward the Emerald City where the great Oz dwelt. The road here was smooth and well paved now, and the country about was beautiful, so that the travelers rejoiced in leaving the forest far behind and could see fences built beside the road, but these were painted green, and when they came to a small house in which a farmer evidently lived, that also was painted green. They passed by several of these houses during the afternoon, and sometimes people came to the doors and looked at them as if they would like to ask questions. But no one came near them nor spoke to them because of the great lion, of which they were very much afraid. The people were all dressed in clothing of a lovely emerald green color and often wore peaked hats much like those of the Munchkins. "This must be the land of Oz," said Dorothy. "And we are surely getting near the Emerald City."
"Yes," answered the Scarecrow, "everything is green here, while in the country of the Munchkins, blue was the favorite color. But the people do not seem to be friendly as the Munchkins, and I'm afraid we shall be unable to find a place to pass the night."
"I should like something to eat besides fruit," said the girl, "and I'm sure Toto is nearly starved. Let us stop at the next house and talk to the people." And so, when they came to a good-sized farmhouse, Dorothy walked boldly to the door and knocked. A woman opened it just far enough to look out and said, "What do you want, child, and why is that great lion with you?" "We wish to pass the night with you, if you will allow us," answered Dorothy. "And the lion is my friend and comrade, and would not hurt you for the world." "Is he tame?" asked the woman, opening the door a little wider. "Oh, yes," said the girl, "and he's a great coward, too. He will be more afraid of you than you are of him." "Well," said the woman, after thinking it over and taking another peep at the lion, "if that is the case, you may come in, and I will give you some supper and a place to sleep." So they all entered the house, where there were, besides the woman, 2 children and a man. The man had hurt his leg and was lying on the couch in a corner. They seemed greatly surprised to see so strange a company, and while the woman was busy laying the table, the man asked,
"Where are you all going?"
"To the Emerald City," said Dorothy, "to see the great Oz."
"Ah, indeed!" exclaimed the man. Are you sure that Oz will see you?"
"Why not?" she replied.
"Why, it is said he never lets anyone come into his presence. I've been to the Emerald City many times, and it is a beautiful and wonderful place. But I've never been permitted to see the great Oz, nor do I know of any living person who has seen him." "Does he ever go out?"
asked the Scarecrow.
"Never. He sits day after day in the great throne room of his palace, and even those who wait upon him do not see him face to face."
"What is he like?" asked the girl.
It's hard to tell,
said the man thoughtfully.
You see, Oz is a great wizard, and he can take on any form he wishes, so that some say he looks like a bird, and some say he looks like an elephant, and some say he looks like a cat. To others, he appears as a beautiful fairy or a brownie, or in any other form that pleases him. But who the real Oz is, when he is in his own form, no living person can tell.
That is very strange, said Dorothy, but we must try in some way to see him, or we shall have made our journey for nothing.
Why do you wish to see the terrible Oz? Asked the man. I want him to give me some brains,
said the Scarecrow eagerly.
Oh, Oz can do that easily enough,
declared the man.
He has more brains than he needs.
And I want him to give me a heart, said the Tin Woodman.
That will not trouble him, continued the man, for Oz has a large collection of hearts of all sizes and shapes.
And I want him to give me courage, said the Cowardly Lion.
Oz keeps a great pot of courage in his throne room, said the man, which he has covered with a golden plate to keep it from running over. He will be glad to give you some.
And I want him to send me back to Kansas, said Dorothy.
Where's Kansas?
Asked the man with surprise. I don't know, replied Dorothy sorrowfully. But it is my home. I'm sure it's somewhere.
Very likely. Well, Oz can do anything. So I suppose he will find Kansas for you, but first you must go see him. And that will be a hard task, for the great wizard does not like to see anyone. And he usually has his own way, but what do you want?
He continued, speaking to Toto. Toto only wagged his tail, for, strange to say, he could not speak. The woman now called to them that supper was ready. So they gathered around the table, and Dorothy ate some delicious porridge and a dish of scrambled eggs and a plate of nice white bread and enjoyed her meal. The lion ate some of the porridge, but did not care for it, saying it was made from oats, and oats were food for horses, not for lions. The Scarecrow and Tin Man ate nothing at all. Toto ate a little of everything and was glad to get a good supper again. The woman now gave Dorothy a bed to sleep in, and Toto lay beside her, while the lion guarded the door of her room, so she might not be disturbed. And the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman stood up in the corner and kept quiet all night, although, of course, they could not sleep. The next morning, as soon as the sun was up, they started on their way and soon saw a beautiful green glow in the sky just before them. That must be the lion. No, that must be the Emerald City, said Dorothy. As they walked on, the green glow became brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and it seemed that at last they were nearing the end of their travels. Yet, it was afternoon before they came to the great wall that surrounded the city. It was high and thick and of a bright green color. In front of them, and at the end of the yellow brick road, was a big gate, all studded with emeralds that glittered so in the sun that even the painted eyes of the Scarecrow were dazzled by their brilliancy. There was a bell beside the gate, and Dorothy pushed down the button, and they all passed and heard a silvery tinkle sound within. Then the big gate swung slowly open. They all passed through and found themselves in a high arched room, the walls which glistened with countless emeralds. Before them stood a little man about the same size as Munchkin. He was clothed in all green, and from his head to his feet, and even his skin was of a greenish tint. At his side was a large green box. He saw Dorothy and her companions, and the man asked, "What do you wish in the Emerald City?" "We came here to see the Great Oz," said Dorothy. The man was so surprised at this answer that he sat down to think it over. "It has been many years since someone asked me to see Oz," he said, shaking his head in perplexity. "He's powerful and terrible, and if you come on an idle or foolish errand to bother the wise reflections of the great wizard, he might be angry and destroy you all in an instant." "But it is not a foolish errand nor an idle one," replied the Scarecrow. It is important, and we have been told that Oz is a good wizard." "So he is," said the Green Man, "and he rules the Emerald City wisely and well. But to those who are not honest, or who approach him from curiosity, he is most terrible, and few have ever dared to ask to see his face. I am the guardian of the gates, and since you demand to see the Great Oz, I must take you to his palace. But first you must put on the spectacles." "Why?" asked Dorothy. "Because if you did not wear her spectacles, the brightness and glory of the Emerald City will blind you. Even those who live in the city must wear spectacles night and day. They are all locked on, for Oz so ordered it when the city was first built. I have the only key that will unlock them." He opened the big box. Dorothy saw it was filled with spectacles of every size and shape. All of them had green glass in them. The guardian of the gates found a pair that would fit Dorothy and put them over her eyes. There were 2 golden bands fastened to them that passed around the back of her head. They were locked together by a little key that was at the end of a chain the guardian of the gates wore around his neck. When they were on, Dorothy could not take them off had she wished. But of course she did not wish to be blinded by the glare of the Emerald City, so she said nothing. Then the Green Man fitted spectacles for the Scarecrow, and then he fitted spectacles for the Tin Woodman, and then the Lion, and even on little old Toto. And they were locked fast with the key. Then the guardian of the gates put on his own glasses, told them he was ready to show them to the palace, taking a big golden key from a peg on the wall. He opened another gate, and they all followed him through the portal to the streets of the Emerald City. Chapter 11: The Wonderful City of Oz. Hang on, I need to I need to check something real quick. It's not an addiction. I'm just doing this to keep my energy up so I can provide good content for you all. See how caring I am. See how much I love you guys. You will never understand how much I love you guys. This is, of course, platonically. I need to take a little gamer sip. It's kind of nice having days off. I'm glad that woman in the city got me signed on with the family doctor. That fella told me, hey, you might want to start taking breaks. You're getting stressed the fuck out. You might want to start taking breaks so that you can preserve the quality of your work. And at first I was like, oh man. After taking a couple days in a row off, I was like, oh yeah. Feels good to have a little time to myself every now and then, you know? Now, what did I open Discord to do? All right, I was going to send that off to someone. You don't need to worry about this. Yep, there we go. All right, that's done. Let's take a big old gamer sip. This is the last chapter we're reading, and then we're going on to something else, okay? We're going on to something else. You might like it, you might not like it. Who knows? Sorry, I made a disgusting mouth noise and I had to turn away from my microphone so that I would not hurt you guys' ears. I know this is sort of a turn the volume up type of stream. So, Chapter 11, The Wonderful City of Oz. Even with eyes protected by the green spectacles, Dorothy and her friends were at first dazzled by the brilliancy of the wonderful city. The streets were lined with beautiful houses, all built of green marble and studded everywhere with sparkling emeralds. They walked over the pavement of the same green marble, and where the blocks were joined together were rows of emeralds, set closely and glittering in the brightness of the sun. The window panes were of green glass. Even the sky above the city had a green tint, and the rays of the sun were green. There were many people, men, women, and children walking about, and these were all dressed in green clothes and had greenish skins. They looked at Dorothy and her strangely assorted company with wondering eyes, and the children all ran away and hid behind their mothers when they saw the lion. And no one spoke to them. Many shops stood in the street, and Dorothy saw that everything in them was green. Green candy and green popcorn were offered for sale, as well as green shoes, green hats, and green clothes of all sorts. At one place, a man was selling green lemonade. And when the children bought it, Dorothy could see they paid for it with green pennies. There seemed to be no horses or animals of any kind. The men carried things around in little green carts, which they pushed before them. Everyone seemed happy and contented and prosperous. The guardian of the gates led them through the streets until they came to a big building exactly in the middle of the city, which was the Palace of Oz. The Great Wizard. There was a soldier before the door, dressed in a green uniform and wearing a long green beard. "Here are strangers," said the guardian of the gates to him, "and they demand to see the Great Oz." "Step inside," answered the soldier, "and I will carry your message to them." So they passed through the palace gates and were led into a big room with a green carpet and lovely green furniture set with emeralds. The soldier made them all wipe their feet upon a green mat before entering the room, and when they were seated, he said politely, "Please make yourselves comfortable while I go to the door of the throne room and tell Oz you are here." They had to wait a long time before the soldier arrived. When at last he came back, Dorothy asked, "Have you seen Oz?" "Oh, no," returned the soldier. "I've never seen him, but I spoke to him as he sat behind his screen and gave him your message. He said he will grant you an audience if you so desire, but each one of you must enter his presence alone, and he will admit but one each day. Therefore, you must remain in the palace for several days. I will have you shown to rooms where you may stay and rest in comfort after your long journey." I might have ad-libbed that a little just to make it longer, you know. "Thank you," replied the girl. "That is very kind of Oz." The soldier now blew upon a green whistle, and at once a young girl dressed in a pretty green silk gown entered the room. She had lovely green hair and green eyes, and she bowed low before Dorothy, and as she said, "Follow me, and I will show you to your room." So Dorothy said goodbye to all her friends except Toto, taking the dog in her arms, followed the green girl through 7 passages and up 3 flights of stairs until they came to a room at the front of the palace. It was the sweetest little room in the world, with a soft, comfortable bed with sheets of green silk and a green velvet counterpane. There was a tiny fountain in the middle of the room that shot a spray of green perfume into the air, to fall back on into a beautifully carved green marble basin. Real quick, I want to ask, what does green smell like? What does green smell like? Like, I feel like that's poorly elaborated on, like, green perfume. Do you like physically see the perfume? Are they using way too much perfume in this room? Like, what's going on? I want to know what's popping with this room. But now we're getting off into the weeds again, aren't we? We're getting lost in a wacky little idea. I need to get back on track. Beautiful green flowers stood in the windows, and there was a shelf with a row of little green books. When Dorothy had time to open these books, she found all of them full of queer green pictures that made her laugh. They were so funny. Dude, they had Among Us in these books. Among Us and Morbius in these books. The funniest shit you've ever seen. I'm getting off into the weeds again. In a wardrobe, there were many green dresses made of silk and satin and velvet, and all of them fitted Dorothy exactly. "Make yourself perfectly at home," said the green girl, "and if you wish for anything, ring the bell. Oz will send for you tomorrow morning." She left Dorothy alone and went back to the others. These she also led into rooms, each of them found themselves lodged in a very pleasant part of the palace. Of course, this politeness was wasted on the Scarecrow, for when he found himself alone in his room, he stood stupidly in one spot, just within the doorway, to wait till morning. It would not rest him to lie down, and he could not close his eyes, so he remained all night staring at a little spider which was weaving its web in the corner of the room, just as if it were not one of the most wonderful rooms in the world. The Tin Woodman lay down on his bed from force of habit, for he remembered when he was made of flesh. But not being able to sleep, he passed the night moving his joints up and down to make sure they kept in good working order. The lion would have preferred a bed of dried leaves in the forest, and did not like being shut up in a room, but he had too much sense to let this worry him. So he sprang upon the bed and rolled himself up like a cat and purred himself to sleep in a minute. The next morning, after breakfast, the Green Maiden came to fetch Dorothy, and she dressed her in one of the prettiest gowns made of green hang on. Green brocaded satin. I've never seen that word before. I apologize if I had pronounced it poorly. If anyone watches the VODs, I would appreciate feedback on that, just to know if I said that right.
Oh.
My apologies. Oh my. Alright. Dorothy put on a green silk apron and tied a green ribbon around Toto's neck, and they started for the throne room of the Great Oz. First they came to a great hall in which many ladies and gentlemen of the court all dressed in rich costumes. These people had nothing to do but talk to each other, but they always came to wait outside the throne room as every morning, although they were never permitted to see Oz. As Dorothy entered, they looked at her curiously, and one of them whispered, "Are you really going to look upon the face of Oz the Terrible?" "Of course," answered the girl, "if he will see me." "Oh, he will see you," said the soldier who had taken her message to the wizard, "although he does not like to have people ask to see him. Indeed, at first he was angry and said I should send you back where you came from, but then he asked what you looked like, and I mentioned your silver shoes, and he was very much interested in that. At last I told him about the mark upon your forehead, and he decided he would admit you to his presence." Just then a bell rang, and the green girl said to Dorothy, "That is the signal. You must go into the throne room alone." She opened the little door, and Dorothy walked boldly through and found herself in a wonderful place. It was a big round room with a high arched roof, and the walls and ceiling and floor were covered in large emeralds set closely together. In the center of the roof was a green light as bright as the sun, which made the emeralds sparkle in a wonderful manner. But what interested Dorothy most was the big throne of green marble that stood in the middle of the room. It was shaped like a chair and sparkled with gems, as did everything else. In the center of the chair was an enormous head without a body to support it, or any arms or legs whatsoever. There was no hair upon this head. It had eyes and a nose and a mouth, and was much bigger than the head of the biggest giant. As Dorothy gazed upon this in wonder and fear, the eyes turned slowly and looked at her sharply and steadily. Then the mouth moved, and Dorothy heard a voice say, "I am Oz, the great and terrible. Who are you, and why do you seek me?" It was not such an awful voice as she had expected to come from the big head. So she took courage and answered, "I'm Dorothy, the small and meek. I have come to you for help." The eyes looked at her thoughtfully for a full minute, And then he said, and then said the voice, "Where did you get the silver shoes?" "I got them from the Wicked Witch of the East when my house fell on her and killed her," she replied. "Where did you get the mark upon your forehead?" continued the voice. "That is where the Good Witch of the North kissed me when she bade me goodbye and sent me to you," said the girl. Again the eyes looked at her sharply. They saw she was telling the truth. Then Oz asked, "What do you wish me to do?" "Send me back to Kansas, where my Aunt Em and Uncle Henry are," she answered earnestly. "I don't like your country, although it is so beautiful, and I'm sure Aunt Em will be dreadfully worried over my being away so long." The eyes winked 3 times. Then they turned up to the ceiling and down to the floor and rolled around queerly so that they seemed to see every part of the room. And at last they looked at Dorothy again. "Why should I do this for you?" asked Oz. "Because you are strong and I am weak. Because you are a great wizard and I am only a little girl." "But you were strong enough to kill the Wicked Witch of the East," said Oz. "That just happened," returned Dorothy simply. "I could not help it." "Well," said the head, "I will give you my answer. You have no right to expect me to send you back to Kansas unless you do something for me in return. In this country, everyone must pay for everything he gets. If you wish to use my magic power to send you home again, you must do something for me first. Help me and I will help you." "What must I do?" asked the girl. "Kill the Wicked Witch of the West," answered Oz. "But I cannot," exclaimed Dorothy, greatly surprised. "You kill the Witch of the East and you wear the silver shoes, which bear a powerful charm. There is now but one Wicked Witch left in all this land, and when you can tell me she is dead, I will send you back to Kansas, but not before." The little girl began to weep. She was so much disappointed. And the eyes winked again and looked at her anxiously, as the great Oz felt that she could help him if she would. "I never killed anything willingly," she sobbed. "Even if I wanted to, how could I kill the Wicked Witch? If you, who are great and terrible, cannot kill her yourself, how do you expect me to do it?" "I do not know," said the head. "But that is my answer. And until the Wicked Witch dies, you will not see your uncle and aunt again. Remember that the witch is wicked, tremendously wicked, and ought to be killed. Now go, and do not ask to see me again till you have done your task." Sorrowfully, Dorothy left the throne room and went back to where the Lion and Scarecrow and the Tin Man were waiting to hear what Oz had said to her. "There is no hope for me," she said sadly, "for Oz will not send me home till I have killed the Wicked Witch of the West, and that I can never do." Her friends were sorry, but could do nothing to help her, so Dorothy went to her own room and lay on the bed and cried herself to sleep. The next morning, the soldier with the great whiskers came to the Scarecrow and said, "Come with me, for Oz has sent for you." So the Scarecrow followed him and was admitted to the great throne room, where he saw, sitting on the emerald throne, the most lovely lady. She was dressed in green silk gauze and wore upon her flowing green locks a crown of jewels. Growing from her shoulders were wings, gorgeous in color and so light that they fluttered if the lightest breath of air reached them. When the Scarecrow had bowed, he, as prettily as straw stuffing would let him, before this beautiful creature, she looked upon him sweetly and said, I am Oz, the great and terrible. Who are you, and why do you seek me? Now the Scarecrow, who had expected to see the great head Dorothy had told him of, was very much astonished, but he answered her bravely. I am only a scarecrow, stuffed with straw. Therefore I have no brains, and I come to you praying that you will put brains in my head instead of straw, so that I may become as much a man as any other in your dominions. Why would I do this for you? Asked the lady. Because you are wise and powerful, and no one else can help me, answered the Scarecrow. I never grant favors without some in return, said Oz. But this much I will promise. If you will kill for me the Wicked Witch of the West, I will bestow upon you a great many brains, and such good brains that you will be the wisest man in all the land of Oz. I thought you asked Dorothy to kill the witch, said the Scarecrow in surprise. So I did. I didn't care who kills her, but until she is dead, I will not grant your wish. Now go, and do not seek me again until you have earned the brains you so greatly desire. The Scarecrow went sorrowfully back to his friends and told them what Oz had said, and Dorothy was surprised to find out the Great Wizard was not a head, as she had seen him, but a lovely lady. All the same, said the Scarecrow, he needs a heart as much as the Tin Man. Next morning, the soldier of green whiskers came to the Tin Man and said, Oz has sent for you. Follow me. So the Tin Man followed him and came to the great throne room. He did not know whether he would find Oz a lovely lady or a head, but he hoped that it would be the lovely lady. For, he said to himself, if it is the head, I am sure I shall not be given a heart, since a head has no heart of its own, and therefore cannot feel for me. But if it is the lovely lady, I shall beg hard for a heart, for all ladies are themselves said to be kindly hearted. But when the woodman entered the great throne room, he saw neither the head nor the lady, for Oz had taken the shape of a most terrible beast. It was nearly as big as an elephant, and the green throne seemed hardly strong enough to hold its weight. The beast had a head like that of a rhinoceros, only there were 5 eyes in its face. There were 5 long arms growing out of its body. It also had 5 long, slim legs. Thick, woolly hair covered every part of it, and a more dreadful-looking monster could not be imagined. It's fortunate the Tin Man had no heart at that moment, for it would have beat loud and fast from terror. But being only tin, the Woodman was not at all afraid, although he was much disappointed. I am Oz the Great and Terrible, spoke the beast in a voice that was one great roar. Who are you, and why do you seek me? I am a woodman, and made of tin. Therefore I have no heart, and cannot love. I pray you give me a heart, that I may be as other men are. Why should I do this? Demanded the beast. Because I ask it, and you alone can grant my request, answered the woodman. Oz gave a low growl at this and said gruffly, If you indeed desire a heart, you must earn it. How? Asked the woodman. Help Dorothy kill the Wicked Witch of the West, replied the beast. When the witch is dead, come to me, and I will give you the biggest and kindest and most loving heart in all of the land of Oz. So the Tin Woodman was forced to return sorrowfully to his friends and tell them of the terrible beast he had seen. They all wondered greatly at the many forms the great wizard could take upon himself, and the lion said, If he is a beast, then when I go see him, I shall roar my loudest and so frighten him that he will grant all I ask. And if he is a lovely lady, I shall pretend to spring upon her, and so compel her to do my bidding. And if he has a great head, he will be at my mercy, for I will roll his head all around the room until he promises to give us what we desire. So be of good cheer, my friends, for all will yet be well. The next morning, the soldier with the green whiskers led the lion to a great throne room and bade him enter the presence of Oz. The lion at once passed through the door and glancing around saw, to his surprise, that before the throne was a ball of fire so fierce and glowing he could scarcely bear to gaze upon it. His first thought was that Oz had by accident caught on fire and was burning up. But when he tried to go nearer, the heat was so intense that it singed his whiskers, and he crept back tremblingly to the spot nearer the door. And then a low, quiet voice came from the ball of fire, and these were the words it spoke. I am Oz, the great and terrible. Who are you, and why do you seek me? The lion answered, I am a cowardly lion, afraid of everything. I came to you to beg that you give me courage, so that in reality I may become the king of beasts, as men call me. Why should I give you courage? Demanded Oz. Because of all wizards, you are the greatest and alone have power to grant my request, answered the lion. The ball of fire burned fiercely for a time, and the voice said, Bring me proof that the wicked witch is dead. At that moment, I will give you courage. But as long as the witch lives, you must remain a coward. The lion was angry at this speech, but could say nothing in reply. While he stood silently gazing at the ball of fire, it became so fiercely hot that he turned tail and rushed from the room. He was glad to find his friends waiting for him and told them of his terrible interview with the wizard. What shall we do now? Asked Dorothy sadly. There's only one thing we can do, returned the lion. There was thunder outside, so I was gonna get fucked. Returned the lion. And that is to go to the land of the Winkies, seek out the wicked witch, and destroy her. But suppose we cannot, said the girl. Then I shall never have courage, declared the lion. And I shall never have brains, added the scarecrow. And I shall never have a heart, spoke the Tin Woodman. And I shall never see Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, said Dorothy, beginning to cry. Be careful, cried the green girl. The tears will fall on your silk gown and spot it. So Dorothy dried her eyes and said, I suppose we must try it. But I'm sure I do not want to kill anyone. even to see Aunt Em again. I will go with you, but I'm too much of a coward to kill a witch, said the lion. I will go too, declared the scarecrow, but I shall not be of much help to you. I'm such a fool. I haven't the heart to harm even a witch, remarked the Tin Woodman, but if you go, I certainly shall go with you. Therefore, it was decided to start upon their journey the next morning, and the woodman sharpened his axe on a green grindstone and had all his joints properly oiled. The scarecrow stuffed himself with fresh straw, and Dorothy put a new paint on his eyes, and so he might see better. The green girl, who was very kind to them, filled Dorothy's basket with good things to eat, and fastened a little bell around Toto's neck with a green ribbon. They went to bed quite early and slept soundly until daylight, when they were wakened by the crowing of a green cock that lived in the backyard of the palace, and the cackling of a hen that had laid a green egg. That's where we're ending off for tonight. On to the special segment. Okay. I need to do a big boy gamer stretch. I've already forgotten exactly what the initial plan for the... I forgot what I was going to do. I forgot what I was going to do, guys. I think I know what to do. I think I have an idea. I have an idea of what I can put here to replace the bit I lost. I don't have an idea. Much like the scarecrow, I am stupid as fuck and I do not know what I'm going to do. So I'm just gonna wrap up for tonight. However, I do know I can show off the schedule for the next week. So let's Luma wipe that in. Tomorrow at our usual time of 5 p.m., there will be a Japanese study stream followed by a karaoke. Tuesday, I will be offline. Mainly because it's better to have days where I'm not live so I can preserve a little bit of my mental health. I'll still be working, but I will mostly be recording a video that I will upload on Thursday. Wednesday will be Final Fantasy VI and a return to Kyu-Yaku Megami Tensei, which is replacing the time slot that I was previously giving to that dog shit awful Mario game. After that, Thursday, I will be offline, mostly editing together the video I will record on Tuesday. Maybe not doing anything really. And on Friday, Mahjong Soul. I have fallen out of love with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just not fun anymore. Saturday, I will try to have at least a few movies under my belt to talk about. And Sunday, I'll put another vote up for what we do then. It is 11:11 p.m. If you're still going to be up for a while, it might be a good time to get something to eat, something to drink, a little gamer snack to refuel. It's like resting at a bonfire in Dark Souls. And yeah. Oh yeah. Remember to take care of yourself. Go to bed at a reasonable time, considering when your work schedule starts and ends. And yeah. Beat your dick like it owes you money. See ya.